This conference will now be recorded.
So, in last class, we have seen about your scripts, how to work with your scripts. Now we are going to see about the next tool called as your smart forms. So, whatever the issues we have been faced in the scripts, SAP has been overwritten and created a new tool, no new GUI tool called as your smart forms. Now, the smart forms is a GUI tool which is used to design the documents, whatever the documents we want. So, such as the invoices, sales orders, PO orders numbers, the anything, any credit document or any debit memos or anything. So, we can use your smart forms. The transaction code for your smart forms is the smart forms. And as you know, the scripts uses your S4 technology, whereas the smartphone uses the smartphone uses your function module technology approach. The smartphone uses your function module technology approach. So these smartphone, as the function modules are client independent, that means when you create a smartphone in one client of a system, you can able to view that in all the clients of that particular system. So as I told you in the script, let me open my paint window. Let's take a development client. So let's consider this as your development client. Development client. So in this client, in this system, they can be separated into multiple subsystems. Like in your case, you will be having an admin user, and you can go ahead and create your own user. So if I go here to user accounts, manage user profile, or user control settings, you can go ahead and create one more user with few restrictions, right? So in the same way, in the development system also, they can have the different clients. Let's say 800, 810, and 820, 820, 820. So this they will be using for as your customizing, and this they will be using that as your what I mean to say, your development, and this they will be using that as your testing client. So now, so all our developments, all our RISE-FW components, we will be creating it over here. So along with that, when we come with your forms, when we are designing the smart forms, so once we design the smart form, we can so in script we have to manually transfer this to both 830 and as well as your 810. So we have to transfer that via your SCC1, which we have discussed 3 days back. But whereas the smart form and Adobe form, when you create this in 820 client, which is our development client, automatically you can able to see that in 800 client as well as in your 820 client or 830 client, because so smart form uses the function module technology approach. The function module technology approach, as the function module is a client independent, as the FM is a client independent. So smart forms are also the client independent. Smart forms are also the client independent. So client independent. So this is what. So smart forms. When we create a smart form in 100 of our development system, the same can be visible in client 300 of my development system, which I told you. These are the advanced versions of your script. And this is a friendly user defined tools, just a drag and drop. Just say drag and drop. In that we can able to see, we can able to use that. Smart form uses the function module technology. That means whenever you create a smart form and when you activate the smart form, SAP will create a function module for that entire smart form. For that entire smart form. So in our program, we have to call that function module. We have to call our function module in the driver program. Everything will have a driver program. In that driver program, we will be calling that function module, which I told you. So this is our driver program or application program, which uses to get the data from the database, and it will be transferring to the function module. We will be transferring that to the function module. At the function module, it will go ahead and call the smart form, and it will print the data in the smart form, or it will add the data into that smart form. Once the data has been added, after this, it's your responsibility whether you want to send it for print, or whether you want to send it for fax, or whether you want to send it for a web browser or an email. So however you want, you can just go ahead and write the code for that. So this is how the entire architecture of your smart form is. Now, what are the key differences between your script and your smart form? The scripts are client dependent, which I told you, whereas the smart forms are client independent. In the script, the main window is mandatory. For every page, we must have the main window, whereas the smart form, the main window is optional. If you want, you can use your main window, or if you don't want, you don't need to use your main window. Next, in the script, there is no function module that will be created whenever we design a script, whereas in the smart form, SAP will derive a function module whenever a smart form got activated. Now, in the script, we can't able to in the script, the control will be defined in our driver program, whereas in the smart form, we can in smart form we can control everything in the smart form itself. Everything we can able to control inside your smart form. So we have a place where we can write our ABAP logic. So in that we can able to control everything. So in script we can't able to write our ABAP logic, whereas in smart form we can write your ABAP. We can control by right. So we can control everything in the smart form by writing the ABAP code, the ABAP code. Okay. So in script, script is a black and white, whereas we can written in various colors. Whatever the colors we want, we can able to written that. So in script, we don't. Okay. So I just written over here in script, we can't able to write the ABAP logic, whereas in smart form, we can able to write the ABAP logic. In script, we do have only 4 windows. One is the main window, the variable window, the graphical window, and constant window. Whereas in smart form, we do have main window, secondary window, copy window, address window, final window. Like that, we do have so many other things. So in script, we need to design the paragraph format and character format for every time. That means for every script, we have to design it. Whereas in smart forms, we do have something called as a smart style. So there is a separate place where we will be going and creating where we will be going and creating the paragraph formats and character formats, so that we will be doing it in our smart style. And once a smart style has been created, we can use that smart style in multiple forms. Whatever the form we want, we can go ahead and use that in multiple forms. So this is called as your smart style. Okay, so these are the major differences between your script as well as your smart forms. Now, how to find out a function module that is generated from your smart form? See, once we have activated the smart form, so as I told you, SAP will provide our function module. Once the smart form got activated, then SAP will provide the function module. This function module will be created automatically by SAP, automatically by the SAP system. We are not responsible. SAP will go ahead and create this function module. Now, in the driver program, what I mentioned in the driver program, so this function module has been created automatically by SAP in all the different systems. See, remember, Remember, once when we are moving the smart form, when we are moving the smart form from one system to another system, so we will move only the smart form, not the derived function module. We'll move only the smart form, not the derived function module. So in the next system, that means in the quality or in the production system, in the next system, again, based based on the smart form, SAP, based on the smart form, SAP will derive the function module. Remember that. That means, let's consider we have created a smart form 1. So in the development system, let's take this is my development system, and we have created a smart form. SF1. So for this SF1, SAP will determine, for this SF1, SAP has created a function module FM1. FM1. Now, when we move this smart form to our quality system, so the smart form will be SF1, whereas the function module can be, or else I will be take this as DFM1. Here it can be either DFM1 or it can be either QFM1. We can't able to control the same. We can't able to. We don't know whether it will be at the right function, the same function module, or a different function module that is going to be created. We can't able to control this because this has been derived by SAP, like your table maintenance generator, that driver program which will be derived by SAP. In the same way, the smart form function module will also be gets derived by your SAP system. Now so as I told you, in our driver program, in the driver program, we need to call the function module, as I told you. Now, if I call this function module DFM1 directly in our program, now once we move the program, once we move the program to quality, so in the quality system, it might through, or it might go for a dump, go for a dump. So, or it will be a toss, whether it can be true or it can be a dump. Why? Because it can be the same function module or it can be a different. So we can't able to do that. So in order to avoid this situation, so what SAP has suggested, so send the smart form to one function module. Send the smart form to a generic function module, to a generic function module, which is called as SSF underscore uh, SSF underscore function underscore module underscore name, function underscore module underscore name. So in this we have to provide this, and SAP will give us the function module name. Now call this function module in our driver program. In our driver program. In our driver program. This is what. So now once we move this to the quality system, now it can be QFM1. So if we are going to call automatically the SAP, the program will call only the QFM1 only. In the development, it will call DFM1. In the quality, it will call QFM1. In the production, it will be calling the PFM1. PFM1. So these are the things that is going to be gets called automatically by your system. We don't need to do this one. Okay, so this is what. Now how to find out your function module. This is what I just told you. So now the next thing is, let's see about your smart style. So as I told you, in SAP Smart Forms, we can create we can create a paragraph format and character format in one unique place, which is called as that smart style, which is called as your smart style. So now in this smart style, we can create our paragraph format and character format. These smart styles, this smart style can be created in two ways. In two ways. That means in two T codes. One is from your smart forms itself, and we do have a separate transaction code called as the smart style. Smart style. We can go ahead and create that in your smart style transaction code also. Now, when we created a smart style in smart form, can we able to see that in smart style? Yes, you can. If I go ahead and log on to my SAP system, let me go ahead and log on. So now if I go to the smart forms, here we have a smart style. So this is one radio button. Now if I go same way to smart style, smart style, the same thing. You can able to, this is an independent transaction code that has been created for this particular radio button. It's an independent transaction code that has been created. Remember that. Okay. Now, so once we created one smart style, so what we will do, we will create a generic smart style, generic smart style, and we will use that in all my smart forms, whatever we are going to create. If you are getting a requirement, so which one you have to choose, whether you have to choose a script or a smart form or an Adobe form, you can ask me this question. I would always suggest you go ahead and use your Adobe forms only. I would always used to have the Adobe forms. If you don't have the connection between the Adobe and SAP, when you are working with your forms, or when you're working on your Adobe forms, we have to go ahead and connect to Adobe server to print that details. If you don't have that connection, then we will be going ahead always with your smart forms. Okay. So, but in our real-time systems, so once we are taking that, SAP will automatically provide the connection to the Adobe server. You don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about that. It will always be it will always gets created by your SAP system itself when it is a generic, when it is a real-time system. But over here, it can or it cannot be. We can't able to determine that. Okay, it's all depends upon how the server has been maintained by that team. So based upon that, whether we can able to create that to an Adobe server or not. So moving aside, so we can use this all the smart styles in all my smartphones. So now when you're working on your smartphones, just create only one unique style, like your utility style, and use that everything in the in your in all your smartphones, therefore all the smartphones will be on your same font and same paragraph format and character format. Until and unless if they are saying that to go ahead and change the paragraph formats and character formats, then only you go to the smart style and create the unique paragraph format and unique character styles. Okay, so till that you have to go ahead and use with your generic formatting only. Okay, so this is what. Now let's see what are the different components of your smart form. Components of the smart form. So I'll be just coming to this how to create a smart shell at a later point of time. So we will be going to see what are the components of your smart form. So the smart form, it has been determined into three components. So let me go ahead and take you ZSF or ZF 7am smart form 1. So I'll just go ahead and click on create this. So now we do have basically two components. One is your global settings and one is your pages and windows. Pages and windows. Windows. In this global settings, again it has been determined into three things. One is your form attributes, and the second one is your form interface, and the third one is your global definitions. Global definitions. So these are the three things. Now, in this form attributes, we can determine who has been created, when has been created, the general components, who has been created, when has been created. So I'm just closing this form painter. Who has been created, when has been created, and what is the date last changed by package and everything. Package and everything. Now, once we created a smart form, it can be transportable to all the languages. You don't need to worry about that. We just go ahead and maintain the text elements and we will be changing that inside our smart form. Inside our smart form. Okay, that is what we will be doing it. So this is what. And next, coming to your output options. So what is the page format? So it doesn't show whether it's a portrait or whether it's a landscape. See here, it doesn't show that. So you can use for one page as a portrait and one page as a landscape, but only one unique page format you have to use, whether it is a A4 or A3 or letter format or any other formats, whatever the formats we are going to use in our real time. Okay, so that's the only format we will be providing. Remaining everything you can be controlled under your pages. If I go to my pages, so now you can decide whether you want that in a portrait mode or whether you want that in a landscape mode. And even you can also provide your background picture. So what is the background picture you want for that, for your particular form? So any background picture you need it, you can just provide that background picture. Okay, so this is what. Now coming to your form interface. So these this will act as a mediator or act as a mediator between the driver program and the smart form. So that means the inputs which we are going to get, the inputs from the driver program, we will be providing that in the form interface. The inputs from the driver program, we will provide in the interface. In the interface, that is what we are going to do it. And the global definitions, whatever we want, whatever we want, say like say like the data declarations, the data declarations, the types declarations, the types declarations, the types declarations, etc., etc., etc. And we can also write the global ABAP logic. ABAP logic. So which is nothing but, let's say, on the top include. I'm just going to define this, but it's not a top include. I'm just for your reference, I'm letting you know. So whatever you can do it on your top include, you can do it everything apart from creating of your classes. So don't go ahead and create a local class definition and local class implementation. So that is not possible as per my knowledge, but go ahead and give it a try. but as per my knowledge, it is not possible to create a local class definition and local class implementation, but give it a try if you need it. Okay, so now these are the things which you can determine. Now if I go to my global definition, see here, you will have your global data types, the types declarations, the field symbols. I didn't tell you about the field symbol yet. The initialization, where you will be writing your entire ABAP code. So this is a place where you can go ahead and write your ABAP code. So this is your source code editor. Now subroutines, you can write the code in the form of your subroutines, that's for sure. And currency and quantity fields, the relation currency and quantity fields, if you want to determine, you can come here and determine your currency and quantity fields. Okay, how the output has to be printed for that particular currency, you can just come here and determine over here. So these are the things which you can able to determine under your global definitions. So same thing I have just provided it over here. Now under coming to pages and windows, we can go ahead and create your pages. So if I click on right click over here, right click over here and click on create. What are the things we can create? We can create a page, we can create a window, we can create a graphic, we can create an address window. So right click over here, so create window. If I just say select this as your window, these are the four things must first we can create. Now so if I say this as window, by default it will commit as secondary window. Now you can just change the type of your window, whether you want that to a main window, secondary window, copy window, or final window. Or let me go ahead and create this. Inside this, what you want, whether you want that to be converted as your address window, or whether you want to be converted that as your text window, or whether you want to be converted as your table, which will automatically get expanded. And the template, so for a fixed lengths and the columns, if you want, you can just determine. Under this you can determine your flow logic. Inside this also you can create like your sub forms. When you want to create, when you want to write your own logic, you can just write that. In this you will be having your alternative true or false. So the loop at internal table, when I go ahead and define that as your table, I just want to loop my data into my work area and all those stuff. So you can just determine that loop. And if you want to write your program lines, you can just go ahead and write your one program lines from the program. So let's say I want to call a function module. From that function module I want to get that data. So S410 text, S410 text I want to call that. So you can just call via from your program lines. And if you want to provide a particular commands, you can just provide your command over here. Now folder, so all these things, whatever, let's say I want 3 to 4 pages. 3 to 4 pages are there. In that, 4 to 5 windows are same. All those windows, we will be keeping this in one folder, and we can just copy that folder into all our pages. Unnecessary, we don't need to create that. We can just do a copy paste. So for that, we will be using of your folders. Okay. So now coming to pages and windows, this will contains all the pages and windows that we are going to use in our smart form. Whatever the pages we want, we will just go ahead and use that in our smart form. By default, whenever we create a smart form, SAP will provide you with a page ampersand page 1. So you just need to go ahead and change this page, main page, or I can say this as my first page. So you have to remember that every time, for every window and for every page and for everything what you are going to do it, you just need to provide a unique code or unique name for that. So which can be readable by the other developers, which can be readable by your other developers. Why? Because when you are not writing this, the other developers will become very difficult to find out where exactly the logic is, where exactly the issue is. It's very difficult for them. Okay, so we will always suggest you to provide a name. So that is also one of your prerequisite when we are checking your form. So when you send it for review, so to go ahead and do the review for your form, we will go ahead and check whether you have maintained this correctly or not. Okay, so that's we are going to do it when we are doing it. So we just need a unique name for that. So just remember that. So we just need to change that by default. If you want, we can change the page number by double clicking and change the name. By default, in the page one, SAP will create a main window. uh, Main window, follow the same step. If you want to change this main window, you go here and change the main window name. See here, the main window will be in your gray color, and the secondary window will be in your yellow color. The color code differentiate. If I go ahead and change this as your copy window, it will be just changing to your copy window. If I change this as your final window, it will be just changing that to your final window. Or if I change to the secondary window, it will be changing to your secondary window. As I told you, main window is an optional. Or if you want, you can determine two main windows also, one main window, and this one is also another main window. You can determine that. You can change that. So main window is not a mandatory, or we don't require we have to create only one main window. Like that we don't have. We can just go ahead and create how many number of main windows we want. We can just go ahead and create those many number of main windows. Okay, now for every page we have to specify the next page. We have to specify your next page. So here, if you have multiple pages, you will be just going and determining the what is the next page. If you are not going to determine the next page, SAP will consider the same page as your next page. What we have seen, that's that in your script. Okay, so under your node, under the pages node, under this pages node, we will be having four different nodes. What are those? We can create one more page if you want. We can create one window, or we can create a graphic, or we can create an address. So address window, we can create an address. So like that. Now pages, it will use to define the layout. We can have different pages in your different layout. The same thing, it will just go ahead and create one more page one, page two. Now coming to the window, so whenever we want to display any information in the page in your script, smart form or Adobe form, we just need to have a window. Without a window, we can't able to provide any text. So here also we have to create your windows, and we have to provide that the text. Now coming to this address, it will display the address in the smart form. So for this, we don't need to provide any code. We just need to provide the address number. So remember, in SAP, when you are creating a customer, or so next coming to your address, whenever we create any vendor or the customer, any vendor or customer, SAP will store the address. So it will for, let's say for example, for vendor, so it will be storing in the table KNA1. So KNA1, which is nothing but general master data, but here it will not store the complete address. It will not store the complete address. So in KNA1, we will be having a field called as ADRNR. We will always have a field called as ADRNR. If I go ahead and show you that one, let me go to /O SE6 SE11. So let me open KNA1 table. So let me click on display. So now Control F. So here see, we have your name, one, address, city, postal code, region, and everything. But we do have a field called as ADRNR. So which will store the address. So this address number, we have to copy it. We have to copy it, and we have to go to a table called as ADRC. ADRC, which will store the addresses, the complete address. Whatever the value which you have copied from this ADRNR, you just need to provide that address number over here. you can able to get the data, everything over here. This is only for your address. So the address. So now the address number, we have to just provide it over here. So now you have two different things. One is an organizational address, one is a personal address, and one is a work address, or one is a determine the address number dynamically. If I take this as personal address, we have to provide the address number and we have to provide the person number, which is nothing but your employee address. So for employee address also, let's say employee forms are there. For example, like your when you go for your loan, they will be asking that address proof, right? Previously, right now they are not asking the address proof. Previously they used to ask your address proof. We will be going and generating from our system. Now how we are generating, we will be running a program or we will be running an application and we'll be just providing the details. So at the back end, it will just get the personal number as well as your address number, and based upon that it will just print your address automatically. If I give this as organizational address, just the address number. If I give this as workplace, so in the workplace address where the person is locating, the workplace address. So there can be changes. So we do have companies in all over the India. So a person can be working in Bangalore, a person can be working in Chennai. So if I'm working in Bangalore, my company address has to become as my Bangalore address along with my personal address. If I'm working in Bombay, the Bombay address has to become up. So that's called as your workplace address. So like that, we do have different types of address. We just have to provide that one. So that we will be going to do that in our address automatically. The format. Now let's say if they are going to change the form, automatically that format will be fixed by your SAP. But now if they are asking, so we don't want that format, we want our own format, then you don't have any other option. So you don't need to create this address window. In this, you will be going to create that as your secondary window. In that secondary, we will go ahead and create that as your address. Sorry, in that secondary, we just need to maintain that as your text. So maintain that as your text. So the text, you have to maintain it. So when you open your text, it will go to your where you can just go to your editor and you can maintain your text. So which is S410, which is your S410. So right now it is opening your which is your S410 format. Here you can able to get your paragraph formats as well as your character format. Now inside this also we can just maintain a unique. So here also in the output conditions, if you want, you can maintain your smart style. The smart style, you can maintain that in your program attributes in the smart style, which will be unique completely. Only for this, if you want to have one particular smart style, you can just also create your own smart style and you can assign that your smart style. Like your message class, which I told you, we can determine your message class at the global level, or when you are defining a message class also, you can define your message class. When you define a message class over here, it will just give you the preference to this. If not, it will give you to your global. In the same way, when you when you provide a style over here, it will just provide a style over here. It will just provide this style to this one. If you not provided whatever the general style that has been provided on your form attributes, that will be come up and sit in your style. And even you can maintain a border. So the borders, whatever the border you want. So here it is a frame. If I want only, if I don't want the left side, or if I don't want the right side, if I don't want the upper margin, if I don't want my lower margin. So or else if I want only my lower margin to be gets printed, you can just print it for that particular window. Even you can change the color of your barcode too. Now if I go ahead and change the color to blue color, lines with, if I go ahead and change the color with yellow, see here the border has been changed to green color. So if I want, you can just change the width also. If I want to give the shading as a different color, you can just provide the shading too. Internal shading also, you can just provide that one. How much saturation you want? Let's say I want 10% saturation. See, you can decrease the things also. Everything, these are all your just a drag and drop, or you can just change that in your GUI settings. like your settings, you can do it. But if you want to do that in your script, you have to write an enormous number of coding has to be written, so to understand for your script. So over here you don't need to do all those such type of things. Okay, and even you can able to see directly over here the preview session. We can see directly over your preview session. So this is what. Now coming to the address, as I told you, window, as I told you, graphic, it is used to display your logo. If I go ahead and create a graphic window, so now here in the general attributes, you just need to provide your SE78. So the logo will be created in SE78. So in that you have written your logo, and here you just need to provide the logo name and the object and what is your ID, whether it's a color map or bitmap or determine dynamically. So whether you want to provide that as your black and white or whether you want to provide that as your color image and what is the resolution. So how much resolution you want, you can just maintain that resolution over here. Automatically the logo will be gets printed. You don't need to write any code for that, any code for that logo. Okay, so now under your window, so let me go ahead and create your window. So we do have so many other things. We have your text, we have your table, we have your template, we have your program lines, alternative, loop, command, and folder, which I just explained you. Text, it is used to display some information on the window, whatever the information we want. And table, it is used to determine the information in the form of your table, the item details. When you want to display the list of all your items, we will be just going to create that in the form of your table. Whenever we create a table, SAP will create basically three areas. One is your header, one is your main area, and one is your footer. In the header, we will be maintaining all our headings. All our headings will be going to maintain that. Whereas in the main area, we will be just looping our internal table and we'll be just getting our data and we'll be putting that in our main area. And footer, if I want to calculate the totals or if I want to provide some CGST, IGST and all these things, will be providing that in your footer. The main advantage of your table is it will just automatically gets expanded. It will just gets automatically expanded based upon the data we have. And so here we'll be providing, I just mentioned you. So coming to your template, we will be having a fixed length and columns. It will not expanded. So what we will do when they don't want the address window, we will be going to create a template. We'll be going to create a template with fixed length and columns, and in that we will be providing our data. So that is not going to change at all. So that's the place where we will be using our template. Okay, now coming to your program lines, it is used to write your ABAP logic, alternative, true or false conditions. That means similar to like your if else condition. Loop, it is used to loop your internal table. Command, this is used to call your next page. Let's say for example, if the command has been satisfied, if it doesn't want to go to the second page, it wants to go to your third page or fourth page, then we will be using your command. Folder, it is a container which is used to group all your subnodes. So I'll just go ahead and create a folder. Where is this? Sorry, under here I'll just go ahead and create a folder, and I can copy this. I can go ahead and keep that everything under this. I can go ahead and keep that in under this. Now, if I want this folder to be gets copied, just do a drag and drop. Now you can, or else you can just copy here and you can also paste it over here. The same notes will be come and show you in that. The same notes automatically. So you don't need to write that logic. You don't need to write that logic. So where exactly you want. See, holder. So header at the starting of your table you want. So at the footer, at the end of your table, you want that to be gets printed. So like this, whatever you want, you can just go ahead and do that one. Now, what are the different types of windows we do have? So we have, I told you we have four types of windows. One is main window, the secondary window, the final window, as well as your copy window. So main window, a window which will get expanded automatically, is called as your main window. Under this main window, we will be just going to create your table. We'll be just going to create your table where you can able to drag and drop all your things. So you can just determine how many rows we want and how many columns. You can just increase the size over here like this. And here you have your line type. Now I'll just going to determine. See here, one row, sorry, two rows. And now I can also determine the columns. One column, the second column, the third column, the fourth column, the fifth column. How many you want, you can just determine. Or if I want one more row, you can just determine one more row. Or if I want to print only to that particular area also, you can just go ahead and print that to your particular area. So here it is determining to all my lines. That's fine. So you can also determine that one. See how many rows and how many columns we want. We will be just determining those many number of rows. Now in the header, you just need to provide, sorry, header, create a table line. So which table line you want to take? So line 1. So in this, how many columns you want, you will be getting those many number of columns. In this, just go ahead and create your text, and whatever the text you want, you will be just providing that text. That is how you will be providing your column. And in your main area, you will be just going to create your table line, and here the line 2. So again, whatever the data you want, you will be just getting this. Under this table, you just need to go ahead and determine your table. So your data, so what is your internal table and what is your work area? If I want any field comparison, you can just provide your field comparison. Only if that field matches, then only that has to be determined, or else it should not determine that. So in the calculations, if I want any calculations total, on which field, on what is your target field, what is your time. So after your loop you want to calculate, before your loop you want to calculate, before sorting and after sorting. So you can do all your calculations, the totals and everything, or else you can determine your own code by writing a logic over there. Or you can, I'll just go to my footer, and I'll just go ahead and create a line break, table line break. I'll just say this as line type 4. All your 5 columns will be determined. Now here I'll be writing your text. At the last, I'll be go ahead and create a flow logic. I'll just write my program lines. So here what will be your input and what will be your output parameter? The same output parameter we can define that over here in your text. So I'll just go ahead and create a text over here. So the text has to be come up after your code. The text has to be come up after your code. The text has to be come up after your code, because the first the code has to be printed, and whatever the value which is there on your code, that has to be come up and populate on your text. So like that you can able to determine your table and everything. And coming to your secondary window, a window which will have the constant length and width, is called as your secondary window. Final window, this is also one special type of a secondary window, but this will use to populate after processing of your smart form. Entire the smart form has been processed. At the last, if you want to determine anything like your terms and conditions, we will be going and determine that in your final window. So this is also a special type of a window which is made to use the page copy. So if I want to copy a particular page or a copy a window, you can use this as a copy window and you can use that. So this is what I want to create your smart form. So the smart form creation we'll be checking in your tomorrow's class, as you have an office today. So I'm just winding up the session right now, and tomorrow we will be taking the class for 2 hours. Okay, so that's it. Before I signing off for today's session, any other questions we have?
Yeah, Ravi, I just have a question. Am I audible? Yeah. Hey, Ravi. So question
Yeah,
is, you see most of the times when we see these forms and thing, they are output based, right? As in, um, we are retrieving the data. Now, are there any forms you can create for transactions like you have in SD or MM?
yeah, that's what I told you, right? Okay, let me start sharing the screen again. See, these smart forms we can just create for all your sales orders. So HD, POs, MM. So after this smart form, I'm going to cover a topic called as NACE, which is a functional one. So if I go to the NACE, there is a transaction called as NACE, which I'm going to tell you that. So
Hmm.
here, whatever, so for whatever the different things we have, we can able to control via from your NACE. For example, let's say for your PO. Now if I go to my output types, so they will be creating an output type over here, and they will be maintaining that. If I go to this output type and go to your processing routines, so in this, whatever the smart form you want, you can just maintain over here. So
Hmm.
that configurations, that functional will do it. We are not responsible. Automatically when they're clicking on the print on your PO, it will just check what is your condition type which you have provided. So that based upon your condition type, it will just go ahead and get the program and form, whether it's a smart form or a PDF form. So you will be writing your program and you will be calling your smart form over here. So that's what we will be doing. That's what the function will do it in their real time. Okay,
Okay,
clear?
so just as an example, now we have customized our ERP,
Mhm.
wherein certain custom modules is what we have built
So
in the
for those
manufacturing, for example.
custom modules, we will be creating a module pool programming. So in that, we will be
Hmm.
assigning a print button. When they click on that print button, automatically you need to call that driver program. So there is a
I see.
submit program button. So you go ahead and check for your submit program syntax. So that program you have to use it, or you can also call via when you are doing it reporting. So what you will be doing when they click on the when they double click on the sales order, it will be going to the transaction VA03. When they click on the print button, it has to go to that print program. So like your driver program, assign a T code, and when they clicking on that print button, go ahead and call the transaction code, whatever you want. However the requirements has coming up, based upon the client needed, you have to do it. Whether they have to automatically print it or whether they want a selection screen. If they want the thought to be automatically printed, you need to go ahead and write a submit program. If they want a selection screen to be come up, you need to call a call transaction. It's all depends upon how the client is asking. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if that is a
Yeah.
custom, but complete standard, they will be doing it in your NACE. For FI, it's a different way of behavior. They in their customization, they will be maintaining. For all your general HD, MM, and all these things, we will be doing it from your NACE. So if I go here, so purchase requisition, purchase order, purchase releasing release, and purchase outline agreement coming to your sales when they have done your goods receipt, inventory management, invoice verification, like in the same way for your sales, for your shipping, for your billing, all these things we have different output types. So in that we will be maintaining your output types output types. In that output types, we will be maintaining your processing routines. So for that, before this, they will be going to maintain a condition records in this, and they will be calling that condition records in your output types. So when they all these are functional, we don't need to worry about that. Once you go into deep dive of your project, you will be getting to know that. So in this condition records, it will determine to which vendor it has to send. So let's say for example, I have a so automatically it has to be determined which condition record it has to be fetched. Each condition records. This we will be using for your email functionality. This we will be using for your iDocs. Even in iDocs also we will be using this. So which is an interface. Let's say for example, a PO has been created. It has to be transferred to one more system, like your front end system is a different one and the back end system is a different one. Now From the front end, you have transferred the data details into the back end, and the back end, the PO number has been created. Now the same PO number has to be sent back to your front end system. What is the SAP PO number that has been created? So now how can you transfer that? When you have processed these routines, so from based upon the vendor, we do have different combinations in this output records, like based upon your purchase organization, purchase group, and vendor. So based upon your company code, like that, we do have different those conditions will also get created by your functionals. Those are completely the functionals. We don't need to worry about that. So based upon that, they will be doing the configuration which output type that has to be triggered, and this output type they will be maintaining it over here. They will be maintaining it over here. So if I go here, see, they will be maintaining it over here. So let's take, for example, mail, and they will be going to the processing routines. See here, what is the program and what is the subroutine they have. In this program and in this subroutine, we have the logic for simple email. See here, what is the transfer medium? So whether you want to go for your print output, whether it's a fax or whether it's an external send, which is nothing but your sending an email to an external system, and EDI and IDOC. ALE is also an IDOC workflow. So we have a workflow. So even in that workflow also we can able to do that, all these configurations. So this is the place where they will be maintaining all these details. But if it is a custom, it's your responsibility. Based upon the requirement, you have to go ahead and do that. Okay, clear?
There. Okay.
So Ravi,
Yeah, go ahead.
so we have, if you click on VA01, if you go to VA01 transaction, if you enter the data will go and sit in a VBAK table, right?
VBAK and VBAP, all these tables. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if I have a custom form, is there any possible that we can build a custom form and we can insert the data into custom table?
Yeah, you can. So that's what we have done in your tables. So see,
That is like
the table.
so VBAK. So if you go for VA01, it doesn't look like a table structure, right? So it looks like a
One,
form where the user can enter the data
one
and
second.
there will be drop down list and all. So can we do same type of thing for a custom table?
Why? See, that's what I told you. Why module pool programming we'll be creating? What is the functionality of a module pool program? So module pool program is only used to create your own applications. So this VA01 is an application. That's why I told you, when we have to work with your module pool, or when you want to test the data, we need a transaction code. If I go back to this program SE93, if I open VA01 or VA02 or VA03, if I double click on this program, it's a module pool program. See this. It's not a normal program. It's a module pool program where we will be having your screens and everything. See, even if I go ahead and click on execute this one, see here you have your the subroutines, the screens. What are the different types of screens we have? Everything we can able to see it over here. Even if I click on execute, it won't. See here is a type M program. This I have told you. We have to run via your transaction code. Now complete. If you have a complete custom application, complete uh, uh, Z tables, what we will do, we will come here, we will go ahead and create a module pool programming, and we will be linking that your module pool programming to your backend custom tables. Whatever we want, that logic we have to do that, and how many screens we want, we will be determining that one. Okay, clear?
Okay. Ravi. Yeah, yeah. Ravi.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so that's it. So that's all for today, and we'll meet you tomorrow again, and we'll continue with our session. Thank you. Thank you all.